Today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the Diamond Select Toys Marvel Select Thanos Special Collector Edition action figure. Along with Thanos, you also get yourself an interchangeable hand that features the Infinity Gauntlet and includes Death. Fittingly enough, Spot wanted to have a look at this guy. It was one of those figures that just never got around to reviewing, and with Avengers and, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy, all the little nods for Thanos coming up in the new Infinity Gauntlet series of Avenger movies. Definitely want to have a look at this guy sooner or later. Side of the package features some fantastic artwork of Thanos there. And we flip around to the back. Other figures that you can be looking out for are Black Cat and Doctor Doom. And your read-up says, one of the vastly powerful Eternals of Titan. Thanos was shunned as a child for gigantic form and grotesque appearance. Wandering the galaxy, he assembled a small army of soldiers, mercenaries, and malcontents, as well as a vast arsenal of weapons of mass destruction. During his travels, Thanos encountered and fell in love with the embodiment of Death, who assumed the form of a humanoid female. To prove himself worthy of so awesome an entity, he set out to provide a companion with what he thought she desired, the death of every living creature. That's big. I don't think I would do that for a woman, but that's just me. You can go to www.diamondselecttoys.com and check out the other pieces that Diamond Select are producing. Spot's going to take a break, get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at Thanos, the Special Collector's Edition action figure. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Let's first have a look at the more staction of pieces, and that is Death here, Lady Death. Now, unfortunately, there is no movement or anything like that on Death herself. She is basically just a statued piece. Though she doesn't have any articulation, any movement to speak of, the statue of Death is quite impressive. Diamond Select have put in a darker wash, so some of the sculpt on the robe's wrinkles and folds show very, very well. Her face, if you can call it a face, more skeletal than human, is grotesque and yet very stylized, I guess I want to say. The face is quite nice and again has that darker wash going in the face there as well. The darker wash is included in the arms. Only one arm, by the way, is visible. The other arm is just closed off. If this had been painted black, I think it would have added a little bit to it, just to kind of give it that sense of depth. Instead, it's just that same purple color as the sleeve. However, you can also take, she does come included with this face. Very Zartan-like. You can take that face covering and put it over top of her face. So depending on how you want to have her displayed, you can display her more so with the human face, or again, you can take the plate off, the little face plate, which show you what it looks like on the underside. You can see the skeletal imprint of how it will fit into the sockets of the face. I might even just display her like this. I think I kind of prefer her more skeletal than, again, more than human in the face there. So, he does come with Death. The other accessory that comes with Thanos, of course, has to be the Infinity Gauntlet. It's cast in the same plastic color, or painted, that matter, I should say, in the same plastic color as the existing gloves that he wears. You can either have Thanos displayed with the Infinity Gauntlet, or you can just display him without. The thing is, though, when you change him out, make sure you want to change the correct arm, as thumbsies again go in, and we have to just pop this off, which serves to be a very involved endeavor. At any rate, when you get the Infinity Gauntlet added to Thanos, with of course thumbsies going in, as you can see there how it pops off there. There we go, pop it back on. The Infinity Gauntlet looks good, but I wish there was a way that you could have actually rotated the hand so that his hand isn't always... The thing is, like, his hand is always down, if that makes any sense. You know, I would have liked it where he could have actually wielded the gauntlet more straight up. But again, I guess that doesn't fit with how well, you know, how he's articulated. So he kind of just has it holding like he's holding something, as opposed to a fisted Thanos, which is, I think, kind of how I would have preferred him holding the gauntlet. The rest of the body is quite nice. The one thing I like about this, and we've already had a look at the Marvel Legends, the Build-A-Figure where it was Thanos. The Thanos wasn't bad, but it was just updated. I kind of like a more retro look to Thanos personally. The lighter blue, the gold, it just kind of shows better, I think, in my opinion. His face is very Thanos-like. I guess this is now, what, the third Thanos that we've had a look at here. We also had a look at the Marvel Universe Thanos, which was also a very solid figure. But I like this figure. I really like him. Now, he's an older figure, too. He's not one of the more newer Marvel Select figures. He has a little more in the way of simplistic articulation, although he still does all the things that you would need him to do. Be the swivel in the bicep, the bend in the elbow, you know, he does have no crunch, though. He just swivels at the waist. Not to say that you necessarily need a crunch, because a lot of times, depending on the figure, especially a figure of this size, he's not heavy, but he does have a lot of mass to him. You don't necessarily need something that has to have a crunch. By the way, because he is sculpted the way he is in the torso, this insane level of musculature in his lower torso, I could see why that you would not want to have put a crunch in there at all. The paint, though, is quite nice. Blue doesn't have as much of a wash on the blue as, say, like Death does on her. It's more relying on one color. There's a secondary color there too, but it's not dark enough that it's a contrast between the light blue and then that color. It's kind of just blends in. Probably a smarter choice so it doesn't look like stark, you know, shadowing lines. You can see a little more predominantly in the thigh area. And then he's got this kind of caramel gold color in the boots, the gloves, and then the trim around everything else. The one thing also, too, that I like about this Thanos versus the Thanos from the Marvel Legends line is that the collar isn't a separate piece. I really just wanted to go around and take some glue and glue that Marvel Legends Thanos collar down, just because it flopped all over the place. If you remember that video, it just was all over the place. In the way of articulation for Thanos, well, he does have a ball hinge joint in the head. So not only can you pivot the head left and right, up and down, but then you've got that secondary hinge joint where you get a lot more movement going on in the head area. Shoulders are on that, also that ball hinge joint. They move quite easily forward and back. You might find as he gets to the collar area, it kind of stops, gets a little more struggling up there. Swivels at the bicep, single bend at the elbow. As you've seen as well, he has a swiveled wrist because the arms only, the hands only peg in by that big bulky socket. As discussed already, the swiveled waist. And legs have a nice movement via a pin hinge socket there too. They move forward, back, out, a swivel in the top of the thigh area. He has a single bend, I should say, in the knee. And he also has a hinged foot. He has really everything that you would need him to have. I don't feel like I'm being robbed at all by anything that's missing to the piece. I like the inclusion also of Death, and while maybe it's a concern that she doesn't have any movement to her, it really suits me just fine. At the end of the day, you know, they could easily do another Thanos, but this one does a good enough job that he could potentially be the only released Thanos. Although, granted, we will likely get a movie Thanos. That's guaranteed to happen. But if they never release essentially a comic-themed, comic-inspired Thanos ever again, I'm very content to put this guy on the shelf and consider him the Thanos. Marvel Legends Thanos wasn't so bad. Marvel Select Thanos, though older, is a far better figure in my opinion. Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Diamond Select Toys Thanos, the Marvel Select Thanos Special Collector's Edition figure. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.